So in this video, we're going to be talking about how to shoot luxury high-end products and what the process was for doing this shoot. So yeah, let's get started. Alrighty, so I am at Michael's now, and it's time to find some poster board. Now, the poster board that we're looking for is kind of like the dollar store version, but just a little bit higher quality and in different colors. That's what we need for this specific client. Now, I'm going to take a look at Michael's, see what they have. Yeah, let's go find some poster board. So now that we've got our poster board and our all our props that we need, we're gonna be setting up, and we're going for a really plain setup. We're gonna have a black backdrop and then change the different poster boards for the bottom for each of the different product shots based on the colors of the brand. Now we're just gonna set it up quickly and get to shooting. For today's mission, it was to shoot a bunch of watches, cigars, and sunglasses for a brand. Basically, they wanted a really simple, clean concept with an infinite backdrop. What we did was we got a bunch of poster boards, and then we had a felt, like a felt linen type cloth that we clipped to the backboard. And then so that acted as the infinite backdrop, even though it wasn't connected in any sort of way. The blur from the low f-stop made it just blend in super nicely.
Also created a really good texture in the background.
Yeah, like a really nice texture. And the poster board was lighter color and the backdrop was a darker color, so it created this really nice depth. It almost created like a natural shadow without it being a shadow. We started off with really simple setups just of a single watch, and then SK had some great ideas of adding a cigar leaning on the watch and all these different like variations with sunglasses and cigars. Yeah, and then we started getting really creative. And so the first thing about doing any sort of product photography is really getting the lighting correct for it. What would you say is like the first basic thing that you do to get all this correct?
I think setting up the lights, the backdrops, the lights and everything, right? But it's also depends on which product you're shooting. So if you're shooting like watches, there's a lot of reflections. If you're shooting sunglasses or any kind of glass things, there's a lot of reflections. So you have to keep that in mind and make sure that you don't catch yourself or some other element on the reflection. So you kind of have to diffuse the light a lot and use a lot of light, and also diffuse it in a way where it spreads evenly on the screen, on the glass, and it doesn't look like there's something else on there just giving a soft glow. And it's that's like the hardest part, because you do a lot of trial and error setup here and there.
And what we had was a diffuser right up above us, and what that allowed was just for the light to be really evenly spread out, just cover the watch and not have an obvious source of light that is on the watch itself when you're taking the photo of it. And so lighting would be obviously the first thing that you got to get down correctly, having a key light, having some backlighting, and then having some bounce. And so first thing is lighting. Second of all is what you're really going for is like, is it a really simplistic setup, or is it something more stylized and something more creative? We kind of shifted from the first spectrum to the other.
Yeah, we went with like the blue backdrop because that's like their brand color, so we thought that would be nice. But the thing with shooting simple product shot is that it looks very empty. You can use one light, two lights, or three lights. With one light you get pretty flat looking image, and if you use a three lighting setup where you give it light from all directions, it kind of gives off a bit of depth. And there are also other ways you can create depth. You can place certain elements in the scene in front and in the back diagonally in a way where you can see where your main product is. That also creates a bit of depth.
And so, and then obviously the last thing is like, what lens are you shooting on? What's your f-stop at? Because the f-stop really determines how much of the shot you can actually see that's in focus. So we shot at f2.8.
F2.8 is good. If you go below, then you're not getting the whole product itself. You're only getting a part of the product. I would say f4 is a really good spot for like product photography. One thing, manual focus is a really good way to kind of get a clear focus on the whole image, not just a part of it. And especially with watches, they're so tiny that it makes more sense to use manual focus to get the whole dial in focus instead of the autofocus just trying to get the logo of the watch and rest not in focus.
Yeah, exactly. So using a sweet spot would be f4, so anywhere between 2.8 to 4 is like a really, really nice spot, especially for shooting, you know, products like watches. And then using manual focus, just because sometimes the autofocus focuses on the edge of the watch and not actually the logo or the brand name in the middle, or not on the dial. And so sometimes, because you're shooting these macro products, these small tiny products, sometimes if the focus is a little bit off, you can't really even tell what brand it is. You know, you can't tell the design of the watch because it just gets blurry. So manual focus is so key, just to be able to focus on the dial and on the key parts of the watch and on the product. And so yeah, lens is really lens is super important, and the way you use it, and it really tells the viewer like what to look at.
I think 85 is a good lens for product. That's what I find. I don't really use a 35mm for any kind of product shots. It's usually 50 or 85, but I still find 85 better, as you can still keep your camera at a distance and kind of focus wherever you want and move things around in a way.
85mm, just anywhere between 2.8 to f4, and then using manual focus will really just set you up. If you're starting off and you want to get some really nice shots, just having that, it'll set it apart and actually make it look really nice off the bat. And then from there, it's adding things into the scene, seeing if you want a simplistic or a more creative shot. Before any of that, obviously doing the lighting correct. So yeah, that's pretty much it for shooting product photography. It's things for, you know, Instagram, for different brands. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video and hope you guys learned some stuff. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
Cheers.